Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor. And on this week's show, we're going to be previewing the best of the weekend action from Ascot, all races live on Sky Sports Racing, and Haydock, where the Betfair Chase is the feature race up there. We're also going to be bringing back our Ante-Post feature, looking ahead to some of the big contests throughout the remainder of 2024, including the King George. Joining me in the studio on his Todd is Declan Rix. Dec, how are you?
Yeah, I'm in good form. How are you keeping?
Yeah, really good, thank you. I'm slightly chilly, but and the rain's now come as well for Haydock, so we're being chucked with every bit of winter weather we can imagine now.
Is it ever a weekend without the rain coming to affect weekend winners' bets? So yeah, we probably should mention that quickly. It looks like they're going to have rain at Haydock and Ascot ahead of the weekend. So probably maybe a little case of mind your bets till we know exactly how much falls, but they could probably do with it, to be fair, because I think there's plenty of good still in the ground, isn't there?
Oh, literally, from good ground and it being far too quick to a suddenly deluges. Like, it's just this country, isn't it, at this stage?
Love British winter.
Absolutely love it. Right now, as you can probably see, that Dec is sitting by himself there over on the sofa because Sam Boswell is not with us, but he is beaming in to the studio via the power of Zoom. So, Sam, not with us today, unfortunately, but I was going to say I trust you well. You're not that well, though.
No, but no one cares about my health, Kate. It's all about the show must go on. We've got to try and find the people some winners or two. Great action last weekend. Obviously, the Paddy Power was the highlight. And the team tip, obviously, we were all Garlaw, and he ran an absolute belter to finish a very, very good second. But very pleased to see the Nap go in and managed to find the winner of the Greatwood. So let's hope we can all find some winners between us this weekend.
Hopefully we can do. And like you say, congratulations on your nap as well. And yeah, Garlaw, he almost boosted our strike rate as well then at that point.
Come on now, be honest with us. Were you and Pop were last night again? Is this what's going
Rixie.
on? Me and Kate in bed at like 9 o'clock. Separate beds, obviously.
Just as a disclaimer.
Just as a disclaimer. And you're here again, beaming in.
No, it's, listen, Dec, it doesn't matter where you turn up from in this show, as long as we deliver some winners. You could do well to remember that message.
Fair enough.
He deflected it back. I could see Dec was itching.
He's fighting fire with fire. He's not that sick. He's not that sick.
He is back now. Sam, though, we're going to park that there, or you two, for just 1 minute, because, of course, it is Safer Gambling Week as well. And we say it every single week, don't we, that our tips are not guaranteed to win. And we do, obviously, preach to gamble responsibly. But even more so, it's more poignant than ever this week, just to reiterate that.
Yeah, Kate, it is Safer Gambling Week, and it's a really good opportunity for all of us across the gambling industry to just sort of reiterate that messaging, try and capture people's attention to just reflect on their gambling. And I think there's a lot of fantastic tools available across the industry with whoever you bet with to make sure that gambling remains fun and healthy to yourself. Like I say, there's phone lines out there for support for anyone that feels that it isn't, and there's loads of great options to make sure your gaming remains fun. So I know we say it every week, and this is just an opportunity to give people that extra bit of a nudge and just start those conversations. It is something that truly all operators, we really want to make sure people are on top of.
Now, we're hopefully going to find you some winners. We're going to kickstart at Haydock with the 2:30. This is the Stayers Hurdle Premier Handicap, 4-year odds and over 3 miles. Now, big handicap hurdle, over 3 miles. Doyen Quest carries a penalty for his win at Cheltenham last week, heads the market. Dec, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, 16 runners to go to war with here. A competitive race. There's going to be plenty of pace on here. I think the early pace especially is going to be strong. Everyone kind of jockeying for a position, so you're going to need to have a bit of class and a little bit of boot early just to get into a nice rhythm. I probably don't think it's the greatest of renewals, if I'm being honest. I certainly don't think there's a Sam Spinner or a Paisley Park in this year's renewal, and Doyen Quest at the head of the market. £5 officially well in at the weights, has got, very good claims. I was a little bit doubtful about him staying at Cheltenham last weekend. How wrong I was. Never seen a horse come up the hill like that. He absolutely flew up there. So absolutely, he is the horse to beat, but you don't need us to tell you he's the horse to beat. But I'm going to give you a little flyer in the race. It's the top weight Twig. He's not even on that graphic. Now, I don't know, is he 50 to 1 or 66 to 1? 50 to 1. He's such a big price. He's going to run off the same mark here that he was second in the Ultima Handicap Chase at last year's Cheltenham Festival. Now, that form has already been boosted this season by Chianto Chianti Classico. You know, he's just such a big price. He's mixes hurdling with chasing. I think he jumps both obstacles very well, to be fair to him. He's a really nice horse, straightforward, travels well, has a touch of class. And this is him over fences at Uttoxeter, I think, last year. He's just a really likeable horse. He has got a touch of class, and you know, in theory, he is the best horse in the race, given he is top weight. But with Bo Morgan set to take £5 off him, I think in terms of weights and measures, he's got a really good chance. I think Sam and his mates there at BetVictor are paying 5 places. That will do for me on the back of what was a lovely comeback run in the West Yorkshire Hurdle last time out at Wetherby. Now, it wasn't the strongest of Grade 2 races, and he shaped like needing it late. But I thought he ran well, looked in good order, and if the first-time cheek pieces bring out even more, he is no 50 to 1 shot.
50 to 1. What a way to kickstart this.
I tell you what, if that goes in now, I could be calling in sick next week myself, Sam.
And you will not be on Zoom either then. We will just never see you again. Right, Sam, Dex kicked us off with a 50 to 1 shot. Beat that.
Yeah, I'm going to struggle to beat the price, I think. But a good argument made by Deck. And yeah, Doyen Quest, very, very impressive. The right favourite in here. And I must say, I thought with the error that the horse made at Cheltenham, I was amazed to see just how well Dan Skelton's horse won. And a 5-2 favourite with ourselves, probably the right favourite. But there's one in here. I'm always a sucker to try and find something with a bit of an angle. We've got a Charles Burns runner in Shoot First. It could just be anything with Alex Harvey taking 5 off. But actually, it's another Irish runner that intrigues me. And it's the very appropriately named Back Me or Sack Me, which I think is something Declan has to ask for most weeks. But let's take a look at the horse's profile here, because Emmett Mullins is a trainer that does things that I think it's fair to say no other trainer would do. Point-to-point winner on his second start, but ran in just one bumper at Cork and then was pitched in at novice Grade 1 level at the Punchestown Festival, which you wouldn't see too often. And that came over 3 miles before obviously going into some slightly calmer waters at both Tipperary and Maiden Hurdle, and then another one where the horse was sent off 11 to 4 favourite and 4 to 7 favourite and managed to get beat twice. And by this point, I'm thinking, why am I tipping this horse up? And you flick through the runs through the summer, spin on the flat, went 5th, which looked okay. The first sort of glimpse I think we saw of this horse's potential was when he finished 4th in that race at Worcester off a mark of 125. I actually thought that was a pretty good run over 2 miles 4, and just seemed to be given a bit of a kind of a strange passage in that race. And I felt there's more to come. Back up to 3 miles should suit. He's got beaten in a maiden on the flat recently. That was in October, so definitely fit and ready to rumble. And I just think it's really intriguing that Emmett Mullins is targeting this race with a horse that on paper isn't an 8 to 1 shot, but I just think there's clearly more potential there. He's only a 5-year-old, quite lightly raced compared to a lot in this sphere, and I'm willing to take the chance that Emmett perhaps has had this one lined up for a little while. He's had a winner recently as well, so the team look like they're ticking over okay there. Back Me or Sack Me is going to be my selection.
He would be the man to do it then, wouldn't he? And in this race as well. And yeah, this horse's name, I have to triple check about 3 times that I've got it spot on, but he is fascinating, Deck.
Yeah, they absolutely. Are they the same connections won the race last year, no?
With whose horse's name completely escapes me. That's what I was trying to track
as well,
back.
yeah.
Slate Lane it was, that horse.
Slate Lane,
there you go. Sam, I'm pleased that you've covered him there, because I was between the 2 Irish runners, between Back Me or Sack Me and Shoot First, who you've mentioned, but I've just fallen down on the side of Shoot First. So I'm so pleased you've covered the Emmett Mullins runner with this one, but Shoot First, main selection for me. Now, he is, as you say, he could be anything. He missed 2 years off of the track, but he returned from that lengthy absence last time out. Now, he was 5th of 10 at Galway in a 2 mile 6 handicap hurdle, and he piqued the interest of the stewards that day, and after a running and riding inquiry was held, but an explanation was given where it was said that the gelding had had a long time off, had a blow turning in before running on. He was due to be ridden with restraint anyway, and to ride him home best he could, and he was also found by the vet post-race to be found coughing. So explanations were given. Fair dues. There's nothing more that they can do than that, and the explanations were noted. But
explanation was noted. Yeah,
was noted. It was noted.
And the horse ran faster for an application of cash.
It was a big price for that one, so he probably outran it on that occasion. But that reappearance did suggest that the fire still burns with him from what we saw of him before that lengthy absence anyway. Now, he is running off of a £4 higher mark on these shores, which I actually think is fine for him to overcome because Alex Harvey's £5 claim offsets that. Technically, he's £1 well in on that basis. So he should have had enough time off since that latest to avoid any bounce factor as well, in theory. So, disagreement for the three of us then for this first one. It's going to be Shoot first for me, Sam is with Back Me or Sack Me, and Twig for you, Jack.
Twig for me, please.
At a monster price as well, at 50 to 1. Do let us know in the comments section below if you can beat 50 to 1 for that Haydock contest. Right, we are going to move on to another Haydock contest, this time for the 305. Now, this is the grade one. Betfair Chase, 5-year-olds and over, 3 mile, 1.5 furlongs, a feature race of the weekend up at Haydock. Grey Dawning, the favourite for Harry and Dan Skelton. So, Sam, who are you siding with?
Yeah, it's interesting, this race. I think for once we've got a really competitive renewal. Plenty of depth, plenty of angles for people to go at. And I'd say the one man that won't be very happy about that is Dan Skelton, because usually we get just a few runners here. But this is a seriously deep starting point for Grey Dawning, I think it's fair to say. And I know, obviously, he's got to start somewhere. But going into this level of open company, I feel gives us an opportunity to take him on. It's not that I don't like the horse. I do. I just feel like that price now, what are we, around a sort of kind of that 9 to 4 mark. He's going to sit there around there. I personally can let him win at that price. And I hope kind of in some ways he does, because we need to see chasers come through. But for me, I think because of his presence in there and those question marks, he kind of makes the market. Royal Pagaille, a really good standing dish in this type of contest. But Venetia's form perhaps a little bit below where you want to see to be taking 4 to 1 about his chances. The one I came down to is sort of third in the betting. I cannot believe Ahoy Senor is trading at, 6 to 1, 5 to 1 with ourselves. Lucinda Russell ticks the box, absolutely flying. And, you wouldn't need to be a seasoned race viewer to have watched that run back at Aintree. That massively taken over 2 mile 4, the way the horse was staying on. Very obviously that this is that was a race to bring him on for this. And the stewards, as we've already mentioned, the stewards, it's going to be a bit of a show where we talk about the stewards. It feels like they had a bit of a conversation around that. But last season, maybe you could argue he lost his way a little. I think it's fair to say. You go back through, there's a few pulled ups in there as well. But I think at his very, very best, he really will pick these up and carry them around here. And I just feel like he's only 9. There's definitely one more in there. Like I said, Lucinda Russell's in good form. I'm really, really, really sure that's been the plan. When it comes to the weather side of things, if we get that rain, I think he'd be able to handle that. It's a shame the rain's coming, because that put me off Hewick, I think, who arrives here cherry ripe after a really, really impressive run at Down Royal. Great to see BetVictor ambassador Gavin Sheen back on. Last time they were together, obviously they won the King George. You've got Limerick Racing here and Capadano in the JP McManus Silks. Brave Man's Game potentially on a bit of a recovery mission. It really is a great renewal of this race, and for that reason, I've got to take on Grey Dawning, and I'm going with Ahoy Senor.
To be fair, I feel like whoever you have backed in this race, not many would begrudge Ahoy Senor actually winning this. He's such a likeable horse. He's such a stalwart. And that was such an eye-catching run last time out, and something that we don't really associate with him first run of the season, Deck.
No, and he is quite a big horse, isn't he? You've got to think that he'd like to come forward. I think Sam's really summed up that race nicely. It's bonkers. There's so many in there that you could. I thought Brave Man's Game was interesting, especially in first-time headgear. I think he's been crying. He's been crying out for headgear for a long time, in my view. But maybe could the rain just maybe a negative for him? It was the same with Hewick. I was really interested in him at 10s, but again, is the rain going to kind of be a negative for him? The Real Whacker, I thought, was a decent winner last time out at Wetherby. The Charlie Hall looked in great order, but again, he seems to be maybe better on top of the ground, and the rain could be a negative. And even Ahoy Senor, the crazy and bonkers Ahoy Senor made my shortlist. And when that's maybe happening, maybe you need to just step back from the form book and give yourself a little head check. But look, I went round and round and round the houses with this race, and look, I just came back on to Grey Dawning. You know, if he was fit and he'd had a run here, I'd really fancy him. I think that's potentially the only negative, is there's a few that he's going to take on here that have had runs this season. But I did go back through my notes, and I did make a note on the 16th of October. Dan Skelton had said he'd already had an away day, and he will have another away day before the Betfair Chase. I think they had planned on running earlier in the season, did they, at the Charlie Hall, but they just deemed the ground a little bit too quick. So I'm hoping he won't lack for fitness. And, you know, he was such a good winner of the Turners, beating Ginny's Destiny, who did everything right on the day, and he beat him well. And they were miles clear of Jello in third, who was given the form a solid look by running well behind JPR1 in the Haldon Gold Cup. He jumps, he travels, you know, he's really kind of could be the new Smad Place, this fella. A lovely grey, really exuberant, really likeable and forward going. The two worries I would have is the lack of fitness potentially. He might need the run. And the other one was just when he gets under serious pressure in a race, he can jump left. And the chase track at Haydock is the outside track. And I just hope he's not going to jump left into the hurdle track. You know, sometimes you see horses doing that over hurdles at Foss Lass as well. Those would be my only two negatives. I agree with Sam. He started off his piece there saying I could watch him win at 9-4. So could I, to be fair. I would like a little bit bigger. Maybe if we're being a little bit greedy, 3s or 7-2, but we shall see how the market goes.
Yeah, hopefully, like I say, if it just edges him out a little bit there than ideal, because I'm with you. I'm happy to back him at this moment at 9-4, though. But like I say, you wouldn't want it to shorten up that much more, given the calibre of the contest, given his step out of novice company. Rain should be absolutely fine for him on his previous form, but of course it's going to be a proper test therefore, and he's got to answer that proper test question all the same. But you make a really good point there, though, about the fences at Haydock and their positioning as well then, just as a general note, looking at Haydock contest going forwards. But yeah, I think the world of this horse as well, and it's just going to be so good to see him back out. And I know on ratings he has enough to find with those more experienced horses such as Royal Pagaille, Hoiseneur, Hewitt, Brave Man's Game. But this is, of course, as I say, his first season out of novice company. So he literally hasn't had the time to get to those lofty ratings yet. But I think he should be ready for this because, A, he's trained by Dan Skelton. B, like I say, he was meant to run at Wetherby, then he was meant to run at Carlisle. So it was ground the first time around. It was the self-cert, I believe, then at Carlisle. So he's had 2 previous engagements that he was supposed to take up and wasn't able to do so. So on 2 fronts, I'd expect him to be fit enough to do himself justice in this one. And he was one last season where I was dubious. I was one of the ones who was dubious of him going back to the Turners. RIP the Turners, over the 2.5 miles, because I thought he wanted 3. I thought he just wanted a proper test at that stage. So we're going to properly find out now how much of a test he really wants. But yeah, and I know that at Aintree, Ginny's Destiny, he reversed that form with him, but that was a messy race. It turned into a speed test.
Yeah, and I think
both lost an iron as well.
I think both Paul and Dan were clearly chasing the Trainers' Championship as well, weren't they? You can always forgive form.
Shocking anything
at that end of the season.
So you and I in agreement about Grey Dawn and then a Hoiseneur. It is for Sam. Right, again, do let us know who you fancy for the Betfair Chase in the comment section below. Now, before we move on to our next race, a reminder, please do subscribe on YouTube. It really does help us out just to show your support for the show. And we really do appreciate every single one of you who have already subscribed. Right, we're going to move south now to Ascot for the 2:45, the Grade 2 Ascot Hurdle. 4-year odds and over 2 mile 3. Of course, all races live on Sky Sports Racing. This is their feature contest. Blue King Daru won this 12 months ago, but Golden Ace heads the betting deck.
Yeah, a trappy little race, I think, just the 6 runners, but I wanted to be against those at the top of the market. Golden Ace, she got a penalty to carry. Obviously, Cheltenham Festival winner last season. She had a great season for the Jeremy Scott team. The penalty alone would put me off at the prices, but also the fact as well that she missed an engagement at Cheltenham earlier in the season. I think she pulled a muscle, Jeremy said, on Sky Sports Racing during the week. So you just wonder, could she step forward for this race? Obviously, in the Worms contest, she's probably going to run in. Blue King Daru, good solid horse, young horse, probably still more to come. You definitely hope so. Winner of this race last year. But again, he's got a penalty to carry in. At the prices, I was stuck between Thunder Rock and Lucky Place. But given they're running off the same weights and what we know at the moment, Thunder Rock is definitely the better horse of the two. I stuck with the form book there with the Ollie Murphy horse. He has actually got form here at Ascot. This is him winning over fences a couple of seasons ago, beating Solo. But he is one of these horses. He does jump a fence well, but I think at those bigger tracks, especially on the softer ground and bigger fields, his jumping, he just can come a little bit unstuck. He's good and solid, but he wouldn't be aggressive enough, I think, to be kind of campaigned at the top level over fences. Isn't the biggest in the world, I don't think, and he's just one of those horses you could see easily mixing between the two. So he's back over hurdles here. I think he's got a chase racing rating of 156 and he's got a hurdle rating of 149. He has gone well fresh before. At the weights, if he runs to that hurdle rating, he is a very, very good bet. So it'll be interesting to see the vibes around the Nichols horse, and it'll be interesting to see the vibes around the Jeremy Scott horse as well, because if they are negative, him and Lucky Place, maybe a couple of others, their price could collapse. That is what I'm hoping.
Could well shorten him from there. Like I say, I know a few Shrewdies have put him up as well. Now, of course, yourself included.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes sense.
First time Shrewdie list.
When you look at the disparity between his chase mark and his hurdle mark, then and just you shouldn't let that factor in, really, the fact of a lesser ability over hurdles as such. But it just seems to be one of those things that people are focused in on initially. But actually, like you've just made the case, there actually probably isn't that much disparity.
Yeah, that's actually, I've just realised now that's the second chaser that I put up in a hurdle race this week, given Twig is usually a chaser as well.
Yeah,
so
what a trend to follow then for this weekend. Yeah.
Godspeed to the reverters.
To the reverters, back over smaller obstacles it is. Sam, who are you siding with?
Yeah, this is the beauty of horse racing, because I think I view this race completely differently when it comes to the favourite. I thought she was a great price. I really, really like Jeremy Scott's horse. And I suppose if you're going to look for negatives, people will point to that win at Cheltenham and could argue that with brighter days ahead and the Willie Mullins horse, that the two jockeys perhaps ended up playing into the hands of Lorcan Williams that day. And, was it a soft win for the horse? Maybe. But then she went on to Cheltenham and beat some pretty average things, didn't she, in the April meeting? But here's the interesting points. A winner on her first start of the season previously and off a break when she was running in a bumper. So I'm not worried about the first time out. Although Dec did add that caveat of the fact she missed that early engagement. I'm not particularly too worried by that. I can't believe Jeremy Scott's going to be pitching a horse in here as a bit of a pipe opener, because you just won't get away with it at that level. I'm beaten over hurdles. I just think that there's more to come from her. I really, really think she's an exciting prospect for this side of the sea. I went through the race and I kind of couldn't get too excited about too many in here. Blue King Daru, I'll always point to the fact that the owners have got a fantastic record at the Ascot meeting. I'll let that stat get wheeled out again, but it's not going to enhance my thoughts that Blue King Daru is a good bet at 11-4 personally. I just really like Golden Ace. I think she's hopefully, we really need these horses for the slightly smaller stables like Jeremy Scott. I always think of Drashel Dasher and those kind of horses with him, but she could be a real superstar, and I want her to really pick this lot and almost carry him. I appreciate Dec mentions the penalty, but obviously she does get a bit of an allowance for the fact that she's a mare, and I really am excited to see what she can do this season. The rain won't be a problem either, actually. Reading back through some of the jockey quotes, the suggestion that actually a bit of ease in the ground won't be a hindrance. So fingers crossed Ascot do get that rain for Golden Ace, who I hope can be a real superstar this side of the sea.
And taking on the boys here as well. But you've made a really good case there, I have to admit. And it would be great to see her going and winning this. But I was amazed, Sam, that you were not siding with Blue King Daru.
Same.
That was literally, I had it 101.
Yeah.
That Sam was going to be tipping up Blue King Daru.
First loser of the weekend was that with me. I was
Same,
like,
yeah.
Sam, he loves the Johnny Delahaye Ascot stat. He's just going to put up Blue King Daru, but he hasn't.
He hasn't. So I'm going to pick up the mantle on his behalf. I just assumed we were going to be in total agreement here. Not to be the case. I'm on my Todd now with this. Will be Blue King Daru, though. Not only for the fact that the owner loves Ascot, but the horse loves Ascot. Makes sense then with that bit of synergy with connections at Ascot along with the horse as well. Now, we're actually going to look back at him winning this race last year. So as we said at the top of the preview of this show, that he won this. And I actually don't think this year's renewal is that much better. Now, we see Strong Leader getting right in his way at this point after fluffing that particular flight of hurdles. Now, it did did take Strong Leader a few runs to boost this form, but ultimately he got there in the end at Aintree at the end of the season. But this was a cracking run from him, as we know, and as I say, he goes so well at this track. And the fact that Harry Cobden elected to come down to Ascot last year, he's done so again instead of going to Haydock this time around. And as I say, I don't think this renewal is that much better than this one anyway. Now, last year he was worse at the weights, stepping up in trip as well for this, which he just, as you can see there, looked to absolutely relish on that occasion. Clearly took a big step forwards from the previous season, which was a massive improving season for him anyway. And he just looked destined for more. Now, he wasn't disgraced when he finished 5th in the Grade 1 long walk hurdle. I thought that was a cracker of a run. He was just too keen in it, but he shapes plenty well enough to suggest that a Grade 1 is well within his compass anyway. So the fact he's back in this race in a Grade 2 again, I just thought that everything was ideal for him.
Such a young horse as well. Didn't he win this last year as a 4-year-old?
Yes, he is only a 5-year-old now, I believe, as well. He's still only young.
Could be plenty more to come from him.
Touch wood, hopefully. So
obviously,
anyway.
I don't want that to come on Saturday,
time,
but
no.
not this time, yeah.
I really do, though. So, yeah, Blue King Daru for me, Golden Ace for Sam, and Deck.
Thunder Rock for me, so first 3 in the market covered for everyone.
Ideal, there you go then. And if we're still wrong, then God help us all. Right, that is a look ahead then to this weekend's action. But Deck and I are going to head over to the Skypad to give you our Ante-Post plays for the remainder of 2024, as well as our best bets for this weekend. Now, we're bringing back a much-beloved feature. I have no idea if it's a much-beloved feature, to be honest, but it's our Ante-Post plays then.
It now, so roll with it.
So we're going to keep going with it. For the end of 2024, we've still got so many top-class jump races to look forward to, so we're going to focus in from an Ante-Post perspective on some of those. Sam, which race are we looking at for you?
Yeah, I'm going to break the fourth wall here, Kate, and reveal that I had to pick last. So I got the Betfair Chase, which I thought was the most challenging of the 3 races that we're going to go through. But the more I looked at it, the more I actually felt there was a bet I really wanted boosting to try and get a slightly increased price. Those of you that kind of like to follow the efforts of horses over the national fences will have obviously watched Sefton a couple of weeks ago. And I thought both the winner and actually the third were horses to take out, and the market completely agrees for the Betfair Chase. Got David Pipe's horse in there that won it, King Turgeon in there, I think around 6-1. But for me, I was really, really taken with a horse called Gabriel that we're seeing in Vision here. This horse ended up 3rd, and you go back through the horse's career, I actually put him up on the show. He was probably an each-way bet at the prices. Flicking back through his form, he was running really well in a couple of Hunter Chase events over fairly marathon trips. He did actually unseat in the Aintree Fox Hunters. But I was really pleased to see that he did take to the fences this time round on his last run. That was off a mark of 127. He's only been nudged up £1, I believe, which seems, I thought, very, very fair for a great effort over a trip that was probably inferior to what he wants to be seen over. Any ease in the ground won't be an issue. That was on good to soft. It's only going to be softer than that, I suspect. And he's a winner on soft ground over 4 miles at Cheltenham's Hunter Chase meeting. Now, I appreciate that level's probably a little bit different, but I still think he's got more to offer in this sphere. And I know for all the national fences have changed, and I completely think they have, I still think it presents a different type of challenge to a horse. And I like a horse that's been able to show that is able to do that. And he ticks that box very much for Oliver Greenwell and Josh Guerrero now. So I'm going to take the price here. I believe the boost is going to make him an absolute standout across the village by a couple of points even. So fingers crossed, Kate, you'll reveal that boost. And we've got a good price about a horse that I think is proven and will relish going back up to 3 miles 1.
13-1 from 10s for your boost. And just to reiterate what Sam's just said there, that the BetVictor traders have been very generous to us once again and are boosting our Ante-Post selections this week. So make sure to either use the QR code in Vision or to head to the BetVictor website to take advantage of that boost. Sam's got an affinity with that horse over the national fences and a nice boost to boot. Deck.
He does, yeah. I should say I was quite lucky this week. I got to go first, so if there's more pressure on me, I think, to put up a winner this week, or at least beat the price and get a good run. But yeah, I'm going to go to the Coral Gold Trophy, which is obviously next weekend, and I'm with Broadway Boy for the Twiston Davis team. Obviously, he was a really good novice last year. I think he was a 5-year-old last year. Really precocious sort for fences, which is a bit of a surprise when you look how big he is. You know, you just look at him and you think the older he gets, the better he's going to get. And he's only a 6-year-old, and this is winning at Worcester last season. But after this run, he took his form to new heights, and I still think a rating of 148 underestimates his ability. I like 2 things for him with concerning next Saturday's race. 1, he's had a run. I think that's a big plus. And 2, he's got a prominent style of racing. You know, we've seen plenty of Coral Gold trophies of yesteryear being won by horses on the pace, you know, like Smad Place and those kind of horses. And I loved his comeback at Cheltenham. I thought he shaped a hell of a lot better than the distance beaten. And it was interesting, he was well backed ahead of the race that day, but I looked at him in the parade ring, I was like, oh, he's going to come on for this now. Yeah. I won't confess to knowing the horse physically. I've never seen him properly, but you just look at the sheer size of him. It looked like he would come on pre-race, and I think he's shaped like that as well in the race, because you stopped the tape going to 2 out when he just got a little bit pace on that good ground. He was bang there with the Henry de Bromhead horse, but a combination of just being a little bit outpaced on the ground and needing the race, just saw him kind of fall out the back of the telly, as they say. He shaped way better than the distance beaten. The time was very strong. I think Highland of Nicky Henderson's won over the same course and distance that day. The overall time was much quicker, and the time from 3 out was quicker as well. And Highland has gone on to boost that form subsequently as well. So everything is in place for a good run. And Sam did us a big favour. He got in contact with George Hill ahead of the show for this week, who is obviously clerk of the course at Newbury. And he said they're expecting a lot of rain over the weekend, 20 to 30 mils. I think that will absolutely suit Broadway Boy as well. So yeah, hoping for another big day for the Twiston Davis clan in next week's Coral Gold Trophy.
It's who you know, isn't it? Connections-wise. And I know we've got a really great voice note, so a big thank you to George for that, because we really did appreciate that a lot. Well, you did, definitely.
He did, yeah. He went into great detail. So, yeah, thank you very much, George. Much appreciated.
Definitely so. Right, Broadway Boy to come forwards from that latest start. Now, I'm going for quite an obvious one. I actually went last for this, but you were both very gentlemanly because you allowed me the King George then for the Ante-Post play, so I did appreciate that for this one. And it makes sense for me because I've talked about him earlier on. I'm also going to be including him in my best bets, not to give anything away. But Grey Dawning ahead of the King George. Should he go and win in the manner that I'm expecting this weekend, then his price is going to contract, therefore. So Grey Dawning, I just thought, was a bit of a no-brainer at this stage if I do expect him to go and do what he's going to do at Haydock. 9-1 from 7-1 as well on the boost. So really liking that for Grey Dawning. And the fact that I think he wants 3 miles anyway. He's 1 from 1 around Kempton, over hurdles admittedly. His jumping has just got better and better, and he's really learning from his mistakes as well, which I like to see. Sign of intelligence. King George looking more open by each passing week as well, because so many of the horses you'd expect would take all the beating in here probably aren't going to turn up, which means that Grey Dawn, he should have every chance should he go well on Saturday. Then on to Kempton, hopefully. Just to also make the point, your boost, 14-1 from 10s as well for Broadway Boy ahead of the Coral Gold Cup.
The lads in the trading room feeling very generous. Christmas is coming.
They have done, haven't they? This is it. These are the boosts we wanted.
Absolutely,
and pretty straight numbers as well that we're getting to deal with, apart from the old 13-1 over here. But anyway,
this weekend, I like it.
Do make sure to head to the website though to take advantage of those boosts, and do let us know any Ante-Post plays that you may have in the comment section below. Right, on to this weekend though with our best bets ahead of this weekend. And Dec, you're up first for this one.
Yes, we actually haven't discussed the nap or the next best this week, so I'm going to Haydock for the nap, and it's going to be Steel Ally for the Sam Thomas team. Ran really well in the Welsh champion hurdle at the start of the season at Foss last behind his stablemate. Just shaped like a horse who's crying to go out, to go up and trip. Lovely big horse, prominent racer, jumps well, looks to have returned in good order, and with Dylan Johnson claiming £3 off his back, I still think a rating of around, I think it's 137 is definitely workable. Then on to the next best, we're going to go to Ascot, which is obviously live on Sky Sports Racing on Saturday, and it's going to be one for the Venetia Williams teams with Martator. He's another horse who's got a claimer on him. Ned Fox is going to claim £5 off him, easing his burden with off 140. I still think he's well handicapped. I'm just a little bit suspect on his jumping still. I think he's maybe a horse that could take a little bit of knowing. So, I think Charlie Deutsch not being on him is a small bit of a negative just because he knows him. Obviously not a dig at Ned at all, so it's a big ride for Ned. I hope he can get him home. But to be fair to him, that race is riddled with poor jumpers as well, so maybe he's not the worst of them. And then the long shot we actually have discussed, and that's going to be good old Twig. Just the best value bet for me this weekend. 50-1 about a horse who jumps hurdles as well as he does fences, runs off the same mark as he was second in the Ultima at last season's Cheltenham Festival. This is probably not as warm a race. First time cheek pieces, he's fitting well, yard going well. I just do not why he's 50-1. BetVictor paying 5 places. If he ran into the 5, I would be delighted.
At 50-1. For such a consistent, such a likeable horse, yeah, he just seems like he's a bit of a golden long shot, really, then, isn't he?
He was actually 66s when I sent it through, but I don't know if Sam, was he double agent? Whose side are you on? The price was cut about 10 minutes later.
We'll still be taking 50s at this stage, all the same, if he manages to win at that price. Right, Sam, your own best bets for this weekend, please.
Yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic weekend of racing, and going to try and hopefully make it back-to-back winners on the nap. Golden Ace for me. I really, really hope we see a proper marker laid down by Jeremy Scott's horse. I'm pretty excited to see how she gets on. Completely disagree with Declan on the race, which is the beauty of horse racing. I think she's got an excellent chance here to maintain that unbeaten record over hurdles. Really looking forward to seeing how she gets on. And as I said, any rain at Ascot, I think, will be welcome for her chances in comparison to a few in the race against her. I cannot believe it's taken to the last segment of the show for us to touch on what is potentially one of the best races of the weekend, Morgiana. And I maybe have lost my marbles here, but I'm going to try and take on State Man. I think if we get him beat, surely it's going to be on his reappearance. He's entitled to improve for it. He's a very, very good horse. We've also got Lossymouth in there, which means that Brighter Days Ahead is a huge price, potentially. Gordon Elliott, that after her returning win, suggested that Champion Hurdle could be on the radar for this horse. I backed her for the mare, so I'll be kicking myself if she proves to be even better. But I thought 9-2 about a horse that's going to have a fitness edge over the Mullins pair that are returning. Really, really did tempt me. Gordon's been in good form. Gets obviously the mare's allowance as well. And I'm very intrigued to see how she gets on. And I thought at 9-2, I thought I maybe could have a really bad each way bet on her. And then finally, my long shot, I'm going to go back to Haydock, where Jodie Ted, I thought, was one of the more intriguing runners in that very competitive race where Doyen Quest is favourite, that 2:30, the Stayers Handicap Hurdle. Now, been off the track for the best part of a year, so Owen Griffin will do a great job if he can land this with this horse. But going through the horse's record, has won on reappearance twice. Definitely could be maybe well handicapped as well. Mark Madonna takes a handy 3 off, and I just thought was a very, very sneaky one at a massive price to play each way. It was a tricky weekend for the long shots, but that's what I've managed to pull out. Best of luck to everyone this weekend. It's a great weekend of racing, and fingers crossed we've pointed you in the right direction.
I'm so pleased, though, that you've acknowledged Punchestown, because on that side of the Irish Sea, the action is brilliant as well. So I'm really pleased that Sam has focused in on that for all that. Oh, he's taking a bit of a chance there. Lossymouth and State Man, taking them both on with Brighter Days Ahead. Fair play to you for that one. Now, I'm sticking closer to home for my own best bets. Now, my nap, I've mentioned him twice already, so I may as well go in and complete the hat-trick on Grey Dawning, make him my nap for this weekend in the feature race on these shores in the Grade 1 Betfair Chase. Take him a step out of novice company, think he's up to the task. For all that, this race obviously has plenty of likeable characters. This is a perfect starting point, as it's turned out. Could have been much worse. Also, he won his sole start at Haydock, second chase start at this meeting last year. He was so impressive that day. So hopefully he can do the same this time around. Next best bet is Blue King Daru in the Grade 2 Ascot Hurdle to do exactly what he did in this race last year. And he went on to prove himself up to Grade 1 calibre subsequently. For all that, I think that Golden Ace is clearly a notable opponent, but this is also her first start. And for all that, I think she's hugely talented. She still, for me, does just need to prove herself up to what Blue King Daru has already achieved in his career, and she's taking on the boys for the first time in a long time. And my long shot, 25-1. It looks measly now in comparison to your 50s, but Ottesini in Vestaya's Premier Handicap Hurdle up at Haydock. Wide open contest, as we would expect, but one horse who can't be overlooked at a big price is this mare, carrying just 11 stone for Stuart Crawford and Brian Hayes. A winner last time out at Ayr, over 3.5 miles, a furlong, bounced back right to form after a break, made all that day. And if she tries to implement those tactics again under a featherweight, she might just be able to outlast plenty of her rivals. Running style suited to Haydock. £7 higher mark won't be easy to overcome, but that's the price that she is at 25-1. So that is my best bets for this weekend. Again, do let us know your own best bets for the weekend in the comments section below. But that's everything from us on this week's show. So a big thank you to Dec in the studio for joining me. Sam, hopefully you get better soon, and hopefully you will be back in the studio with us next week. But good to see you all the same, and best of luck.
You're running out of self-certs.
Slowly just ticking them off as we go along. Right, Dec had to get in one last little jab to Sam, and Sam can't even answer back at this point either. So we better wrap up, but thank you so much for watching as ever, and we will be back at the same time next Friday to preview the best of the weekend action.